Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to From the Depths of Musicargo. We're here picking up right where we left off in what's probably going to be the final offensive against the Steel Empire and the Twin Guard. I've done a whole bunch of positioning my units, and it looks like there is a single tank over here in Maramasa in the northwest corner of the map. So we've split off a group of pikes, and let's go take care of that one. Alright. Take a quick look. Oh yeah, we've seen this thing before, but what is this scatter shot out front of it? I guess it's come from these smaller guns here, but I only see 8 barrels, and that's like at least 8 scatter shot pieces. I don't know where they came from, Luigi. Anyway, we've got a whole bunch of pikes. I think we got a full dozen pikes here. Probably overkill. I think about 2 of them could win this fight without for sure taking any damage. And oh my god, he's lost his head and his whole front. And wait, oh my, yeah, we do have missiles. I was about to say, where are the missiles? We just kind of blasted the whole thing apart before the missiles could even hit. All we have to do now is clean up its little child vehicles and yeah. Alright, up next we've got several different armies grouping up to move on the last remaining base of the Steel Empire. We've got a tank called the Goliath, a munitions facility, a command center, and it looks like 2 of those ICBM structures. And boom, I've gone ahead, I've positioned everything. We have many pikes, a rolling cinder, and many Kiev Phantoms for this assault. Just take a little bit of a look-see at what we have going on over here. So we've got the ICBM facility next to that Goliath. Looks like things are, all the pikes have opened up on the Goliath. Taking a look at this Goliath, I really love the aesthetic of this thing. It looks like the older Steel Empire vehicles, which I'm a huge fan of because I find some of the newer ones are so covered in mimics that it like, my skill as a builder, I'm not to the point where I can make stuff that looks like the modern Steel Striders sort of vehicles. I'm just not good enough at like having an aesthetic vision for my craft and then sitting there for hours putting on mimics. So when I see something like this, it's not like a well-built tank that's then covered in mimics. It's more a tank that was built to look like this, and I'm a big fan of how that ends up looking. Same thing with these nukes. I mean, these nukes are relatively simple. They're built to function and then covered with a few mimics, but they're not crazy complicated. And wait, hang on a second. Oh my god, he has his own screen. Nice. I like how I think the lasers and the projectiles are just trails of dots. Pretty neat. We have the munitions factory over here. Nice. It's very blue. It's gotta be said. Okay, that's slightly less blue, and this is even less blue. Alright. Over here we have the coal factory, where of course they take raw materials and manufacture the coal. It's not a power plant, otherwise it would be called a power. Ignore the boilers, it's a coal factory, alright? Over here we got the command center. Very nice, very nice. Yeah, see, most of the aesthetic stuff, like the whole building is just built to look the way that it does. It's not just covered with an extensive amount of mimics. Not that there's anything wrong with that. Don't get me wrong, mimics look beautiful, and so does this thing as it's being absolutely turned into block confetti. I just noticed, does this thing have little fan propellers on the back, like they're gonna push it across the desert? I guess that's the tank equivalent to a little propeller hat. Like 2 industrial-sized fans are going to push this several 100-ton tank through sand. This thing is driving kinda close to his ICBM facility. Well, I say that. Looks like the power of 1,000 suns has just been unleashed. Look at that high-quality explosion texture. Nothing but the finest here in From the Depths. I'm kidding. If this game had better graphics, I wouldn't be able to run it. But yeah, that was not a wise move. I don't even think any of my forces were actually trying to hit the ICBM facility. I think that was actually a stray bullet because he was driving past it. So ICBM craft in general are pretty interesting because they're sort of a counter to the player just making like individual elite designs. Like, right, the whole idea behind it, a craft like that is it hits something that's hyper valuable on behalf of the opponent. But it looks like what his ICBMs are all doing is just chasing around my fighters, which even if he manages to catch my fighters with his ICBMs, it's still, it still favors me. Sure, I lose one fighter, but I brought like 15 to this fight, and he only has 8 nukes. Alright, the Goliath is down. What else do we got here? Still got both of the factories up and running, where they produce coal. I don't know why it's called a factory. I'm sure it's just that someone, like they built the whole thing and they said, okay, it looks good, and then they just had it, like it was going to be some sort of factory, and then they're like, what kind of factory is it? And they're like, I don't know, coal. And they just named it coal. But I don't know if you know this, coal is not made in factories. That's all right. We've gone ahead and boarded the rolling cinder, and we're going to go ahead and try to take his command center, because it's a very pretty building and I like it. I want a copy of it. I'm not the biggest fan of simply spawning things in the designer mode and then saving it. I kind of like the idea of, when I find designs that I really like or want to draw inspiration from or look back to figure out, aesthetically how they pulled something off. I like capturing them in an adventure or a campaign setting rather than just, remembering the name of the craft and then going and spawning it in. Also, I'm just taking a look around here to see what's going on. Admittedly, the interior is a bit simplistic. It's a lot of the same computer station sort of copy-pasted all over the place, and the lower level is a very large empty space. But yeah, I don't know if you could tell, a bit of a voice issue going on. I've been a little under the weather, so hopefully it doesn't cause too much of a problem. Go ahead and let him ram to open up and dag nabbit. Alright, let's spawn at the rolling cinder. There we go. This is a very slow descent. Can I open up the AI menu and turn weapons off? No. Just gonna bomb the crap out of it for a second. Alright. Boom! Turned all the AIs off. Closed the distance. Now where is your brain, good sir? I have come for your brain. Is it in here? This heavy armor box looks suspicious. Delicious. Oh, looks like a nuke has gone off against one of our fighters. Again, not the biggest issue. We brought so many fighters, and it didn't even completely one-shot it. I'm guessing it got shot down in the vicinity of it. Anyway, we're gonna go ahead and blow up this coal factory over here. Again, just don't think about how they're producing the coal. I'm sure there's nothing suspect about this factory. It's all in your imagination. It's not in the factory. Other than that, I'm trying to see, I think it is just these last 2 structures left. Speaking of which, I think this building needs a minor adjustment. Let's go ahead and, yep, that. And where is it? Where is it? Here it is. Flag pole. Boom. Wrong flag. Hello? There we go. Right flag. Bit of an awkward wind direction, as it were. Flipping the flag into the structure, but that's alright. Looks like the coal factory has finally been brought down. We don't need that. Not where we're going. Looks like the ICBM facility is all that's left. Unless maybe there's a few nukes scattered around. Yep, okay, so way over here, out off to the west, there is a single ICBM that's just going for a cruise. I think he's decided that he's done with the Steel Empire. And I kind of wonder if if it's like an escape pod that's meant to look like a nuke, because it's not trying to nuke anything. It has just gone several miles out the bounds of the map. Where'd it go? There'd it go. All right. So yeah, he's just decided that he's in adventure mode now. So he's just leaving land, and he's off to find something that he can board and capture. There he goes. Off into the, I would say sunset, but I honestly can't tell what direction this is. All I can see is the sea and space, and oh, well, sometimes adventure modes do end like that. Rip Steel Empire. Okay, up next we have the largest fight I have taken yet. This is only half of my army. The other half has been loaded in on the other side of the Twin Guard's main base. And why is that tank tilted? I don't know. Alright, whatever. Anyway, yeah, we've got about... What the hell? Why are you flying? Yes. Yep, it's set to ground vehicle. I think they spawned inside of each other, and one of them got catapulted into the air. Anyway, this is the home base of the Twin Guard, the last remaining enemy forces on the map. The audio for this fight is a bit awkward because I did have to take it at very slow in-game speed and speed it up in post. So I hope you'll forgive that. But yeah, that is the main guardian of the Twin Guard, or the last mega tank. I guess each faction has their own mega tank, and this is the Twin Guard's mega tank. Very cool looking design. Again, this is another one of those craft that's shaped to look how they wanted it to look, and not just mimicked to look how they wanted it to look, which I'm a huge fan of. Of course, it's also, the Twin Guard are weak to Hesh, generally speaking, and that is all I am throwing at it. Oh, that's a lie. The autocannon on the pike. So the pikes have their 4 frontal Hesh guns, and then they have an autocannon. The autocannon is HE frag. But, oh man. Oh, we killed it. Alright, metal screeched and moaned as the fires burned and warped the last so-called megatank of the war. Black caustic smoke bellowed from the burning fuel reserves, and ashes drifted through the air. A thunderous explosion ripped through the tank as fire seeped into the ammo storage. The reverberations could be felt for miles as the hulking tank blew apart into jagged shards of scrap. That's right, I use American units. Flung in every corner of the battlefield. Nothing remained but a charred hole in the ground. Throughout Nida, another reverberation could be felt, this one less tangible. Your story of conquest has been spread through the nations. The old empires have fallen to nothing but ash. There is now a new leader, one who's feared by some as the bringer of destruction, the killer of free trade and technological development. To others, you are the savior who put down a corrupt religion, the liberator that cut the shades of a controlling government. This is now your world. And apparently we got a score of 104, so that's very nice. I don't know, let me know in chat what kind of scores are possible. We get some nice panoramic views of 40 tanks blowing apart one structure. It will not last long. Speaking of, it's already disintegrating. I do love the design of this turret. It's gotta be said. It's absolutely beautiful. And it looks like we have nothing but a few scattered babby mechs to obliterate. Just don't think about the fact that they're babby mechs, okay? They're mechs that are describable as babbies. They're not babbies that are describable as mechs. It's not a war crime, okay? It's not. just don't think about the endless column of tanks fighting babby mechs as a war crime. Alright, battle finished. That, ladies and gentlemen, I think is the end of the Twin Guard. And indeed, the end of the whole Ashes of the Empire campaign. So first off, thank you all very much for watching. I'm going to share some thoughts on the campaign here in a second. Again, I do hope that you've enjoyed. And hey, if you do, consider leaving a like and comment. I very much would appreciate it. My thoughts on Ashes of the Empire: I'm a huge fan of the volume limit. If you haven't tried the campaign with the volume limit on, I seriously suggest you give it a solid go. So Ashes of the Empire is different from the Quest for Nether for 2 reasons. The first reason is that it's all over land, and the second reason is because of the volume limit. And I think the volume limit has a huge impact on the dynamic of the whole campaign, and I highly recommend. Speaking of, I want to incorporate tanks into any campaign that has an area of land. I would love, just like take a small continent of land and actually just try to hold it for the sole excuse that I would be able to fight battleships with tanks from the shoreline. I think that would be epic. So yeah, I definitely think that the volume limits and the constraints of this forced me to change up my build style, forced me to use a lot of the things in the game that I never would have used before, and it was cool. It was really cool. I also think that focusing primarily on land instead of just, small flyers. Small flyers are evasive, and you can usually give them a missile that will connect with their opponent eventually. And they're cool. Don't get me wrong. I had so many fighter submissions for this, and they were all beautiful. It was really hard to pick any out of the bunch that were, I guess people really go ham in customizing and making their own fighter craft. But honestly, I was a huge fan of the tanks. As I mentioned in my, prep video for the campaign, I only let myself see the easy tanks for the Deepwater Dustwind Gypsies and the Onyx Watch. So I got to see, I think, 3 or 4 designs total in preparation for this campaign. And the strongest design I ended up having was definitely the Pike. Just for YouTube, because I was going to take viewercraft submissions, I decided to go back and try to give all of my vehicles an aesthetic theme so that they looked like they were mine, so that it would be easy to tell the viewercraft apart from my sort of main fleet. And that kind of inspired me while I was working on the aesthetics for those to just make my own custom faction. And if you've been following my Discord, if you're on there, you may have seen some teasers for the custom faction that I've been working on. I don't think you've seen any of it here, but, well, maybe. Maybe I teased a little bit of it at some point. But yeah, I've been working on a custom faction that I want to bring to future campaigns. I want to do basically a similar thing. Is there anything I would do different if I were to do this campaign again? Absolutely. I would probably declare war on every faction right from the start. I would go a lot heavier into the static defenses that I prepped before. I would put scrapping up to 10%, and I would immediately deactivate one of my resource zones. I think the approach I took the first time was a great approach, considering how little of the campaign I let myself see and test against to prep for. But I think now that I've beaten it once, and I know what my designs are capable of, like the Pike. My god, the Pike is a monster. Yeah, I would definitely do this again in a different way. And I think next time I would have a much larger emphasis on actually using static defense. So the thing with static defense in strategy games is, generally speaking, the cost of a gun doesn't change very much if it's mounted on a vehicle or if it's mounted on a bunker. And the problem with a gun that's mounted on a bunker is that you can't move it to where you need it to be, because you can't just move the bunker. So generally speaking, static defense isn't worth it unless it's very efficient. And one of the things that's cool in From the Depths is you don't need to incorporate propulsion on a bunker, and that's a huge portion of the cost for your vehicle, is all of the wheels and all of the structure for all of everywhere you want to mount whatever your propulsion and your engine is, and the armor for that stuff. So being able to skip all of that and just focus on the gun whatever your defensive weapon is, gives you a lot more of a material efficiency for that. So I definitely think static defense has a place in Ashes of the Empire. I just think that my opponents didn't have enough resources early on to really attack me. So yeah, I would definitely go a lot heavier on the static defense. I would definitely declare war on a lot of different opponents. And yeah, I'd look forward to doing that again in the future. There will be a channel update video coming out talking about my plans for FTD. I've got nothing set in stone, so I'm not going to promise anything here. There will be a lot more information in that video if you're interested. I've also been pretty sick for the last week. I hope it doesn't show too much. I've been pretty foggy, pretty sleepy, and yeah, just in general, not the best of times. Not the worst, but not the best. So yeah, I hope that doesn't show too much. I do hope that you've enjoyed. I've been Zicargo, and I'll see you soon. But for now, farewell.